just you. Welcome back to Faulty Circuits. Today, we're going to get Tubthumped. Dusk was beginning to settle as Calvin burst forth again into the cold tundra. He borrowed a cloak from the coat room of the now-deceased nuns to help shield himself from the bitter, probing fingers of that Arctic lecher, Jack Frost. Now to figure out which direction was home. Calvin put his finger in his mouth and then poked it into the wind. "Oh, yes, yes," he said out loud. "It's cold in every direction. It sure is." He stood outside the large doors of the Church of the Very Little Cloth, squinting into the sunset. "Oh, right, that's west, so that way is south. If I was inside a polar bear, I must be north, so I want to go south." Calvin set forward, 1 foot at a time. He walked into the setting night. His fingers and toes went numb, but he kept walking. His heels and thighs burned with cold, but he kept walking. His belly started to ache for food, but he kept walking. There was nothing around but handfuls of snow to eat, so he filled his reddened fists and kept walking. The dawn came creeping in slowly many hours later, but Calvin didn't rest. He began to feel sad and lost, all alone without a soul to guide him. He'd been fighting to keep his spirits up by singing his favorite song, Tubthumping, on repeat all these hours, but he was starting to lose the battle. Finally, something caught his eye in the distance. He pulled his borrowed cloak tight around him and trundled forward toward a small, lumbering shape ahead of him. He was huffing steam by the time he caught up. It was a turkey, with a Renaissance painting of a lovely young woman strapped to it. "I'm hallucinating," Calvin thought to himself. "I thought carrier turkeys went extinct 500 years ago." He decided the best idea would be to follow the creature, whether or not it was real. Best case scenario, it leads me to a town. Also best case scenario, I'm dying of hypothermia and all my problems will miraculously disappear on their own. So he followed the bird, with a new vigor for singing Tubthumping in the preceding hours. By full sun, the snow started to thin out under Calvin's feet. It wasn't melting. It was transforming into an obvious roadway. Thatched roofing and stone buildings were becoming visible down the path as well. The turkey, who was a nihilist when Calvin caught up to him, had after a few short hours been chumbawumbed into the religious notion that there was a God, and that it was a God devoid of mercy. Calvin broke away to explore the first grain silo at the edge of town. The turkey found his way back to his own century, born again. Calvin didn't necessarily want to stop following the turkey, but he was so cold and exhausted he needed to lay his head down. It was day now, and he hadn't seen anyone in the roads ahead. Probably a ghost town, he thought. The hay in the silo looked fresh, though, and soft, and warm. He hummed quietly to himself as he snuggled into the nearest haystack. "I get laid down, but I'll get up again." Calvin fell fast asleep. Ah! Something was jabbing him. It hadn't felt as though any time had passed, but the only light was by torch. It was nighttime already. Someone was stabbing Calvin with a pitchfork. "Damn Alopush! You're not welcome in this town!" came an angry hiss. "Oh, darn it!" he cried, pulling himself out to his feet. "Please stop skewering me!" He took a moment to look at his assailant. It was a cloaked man, slightly shorter than Calvin himself, but with skin as white as a vicious murder goose. "Gosh, where am I?" "Don't be coy, boy, or I'll pull that terrible wig right off your head." He had a honking voice like a murder goose, too. "This isn't a wig," Calvin exclaimed, putting his hands up to his head, preparing to defend his delicate scalp. "Bullshit!" The pale cloaked figure stabbed at him again. "Give it to me!" He reached up and grabbed at Calvin's hair. "Ah!" Calvin wailed. The man was pulling him by the hair out of the silo into the night. "These plugs are deep, I'll give you that, Pesh!" He stepped outside, then called to the others. "Look what I've found! A thief in the night! Here to steal our hair horses, no doubt!" Many ghostly hooded figures turned toward the two of them, all glowing white by torch under their cowls. They came closer as a unit, surrounding Calvin. Each of them pulled at his hair in turn, marveling at the firm grip it seemed to have on his scalp. "Please stop," Calvin begged. "I didn't come to steal anything, I swear." Honk Voice spat on the ground. "Do we look like fools? You may have found a way to graft that hair to your scalp, but we have a thieving pastoral way to see one. Sneaking! No matter. We'll get answers from you." He turned to his kinfolk. "Take him to the Grand Justice!" They nodded, then dragged Calvin away, kicking and whining annoyingly. Before Calvin knew it, he was locked in a dungeon awaiting inquisition. His scalp was aching from being yanked and his body sore from the kilometers of walking and pitchfork proddings. He slumped down onto the cold, hard floor and rocked himself comfortingly. "It was sort of nice inside that sea lion. Warm. Moist," he muttered to himself, almost nostalgically for better times. He started to sink into his memories of simpler times, inside animals, then was jolted back to reality. The door burst open. A tall man, also cloaked, with skin like a boiled egg, stepped into the room holding a ratchet. "It's time for answers," he grinned with too many teeth. "What's that for?" Calvin pointed at the ratchet. "Oh, this?" The man pursed his lips. "This is my little friend. His name is Davy Griffith. If you don't give me what I want, I give you what you don't want. The purplest nurples." "I think I've already had the purplest nurples. My friend Mark was, probably still is, a bit of a Rembrandt with nurples. Hey, did you design this place? This concrete is so rich looking, like from that show with the two British architect enthusiasts, The World's Most Extraordinary Dungeons. Hey, what's a hair horse anyway? I had a pen pal named Davy Griffith once. What a small world." The man's smile sank into a toothy scowl. "It is I who will ask the questions." "Oh, okay, ask away. I'm yours for the asking. By the way, is everyone so pale here? How do you get enough vitamin D? Do you get too much vitamin D?" "Shut up, fool! You know already that we Albinks must be cloaked even from the burning light of the moon." "Okay, but..." "Shut up! Shut the hell up! It's time for the Inquisition!" Hours later, on the other side of the door, the tall Inquisitor emerged, weeping. Townsfolk and representatives of the king awaited his word. Seeing the torture master broken down in tears stunned all of them. Following the awkward sights and sounds of the bawling Inquisitor, a representative of His Majesty the King spoke up. "What did you learn, Brad?" Between sobs, Brad told him everything he'd learned. He'd learned that Calvin was repeatedly knocked down, but that he always rose soon after. He learned that Calvin drank 4 different kinds of drink. The whiskey drink, the vodka drink, the lager drink, the cider drink. He sang songs to remember 2 different sorts of time. Good and better. "Good God!" the royal proxy gasped. "The enemy sent a powerful weapon! This could mean war!" He turned and fled to deliver the news. Brad collapsed into a crumpled heap on the floor, fingers twitching. Calvin remained locked in the dungeon. The end. Until next time.